in a new reading spot or like filming spot because we are literally chasing the light. I swear the Midwest has just turned into straight gloom and it is so hard to find the light. So let me know what you guys are thinking of this little filming spot. We will not be here very long, probably just on the gloomier days, but I've also thought about like filming in front of my bookshelf again because I kind of miss it. So let me know like which filming spot you guys like the best or if you like even care. But this video is a fun one because I'm gonna be sharing 20 books, and these are all books for beginners or people who want like a fast read. Maybe you have just like, I don't know, used to love reading and you want to get back into it. So I'm going to talk about like how to get back into reading and share books that I think you guys will love. I truly believe that everyone is a reader deep down. They just haven't found a book that like they resonate with yet. So yeah, these are gonna be books that will be great to get into, and there are literally 20. So yeah, let's get into this video and I hope you guys enjoy. I've never gotten to a point where I like don't want to read, like literally ever, and I think that's because whenever I am getting to the point where I am just like kind of bored of the book that I'm reading, I will switch to a short book. And so we're gonna be talking about a ton of different like book genres today. Short books, fantasies, thrillers, diverse romances, popular romances, easy reads, just like all the things. And in total, I'll share 20 books. But the first book I want to share is Take a Chance by Mieko May. This book is really good because it's only 63 pages, but it feels like a full book. Like it doesn't feel long because obviously it's not, but it doesn't feel like you're really missing anything at the end of the book. Like I feel like a lot of novels or novelettes or novellas kind of feel like you just need more of the story. This has a really great wrap up. I just think that it like goes perfectly. There's a little bit of spice in it. I think it's the perfect balance. So if you're wanting to read a short book just to kind of get you back into reading, you can finish 63 pages. Like you can finish 63 pages. So if nothing else, if you like don't pick up anything else in this video, I feel like short books are some of the easiest to get into. And this is about Cyrus and Cassandra, and they end up meeting up in Mexico. They didn't know that they were both gonna be in Mexico, but they knew each other in high school and they kind of had like a crush on each other then, but they were both in different like friend groups and stuff. So it is so cute to see like a blossoming romance between them because they both kind of had feelings that they didn't like know what to say. So you get some of their backstory, but then you get some of like the future and present time. It is just a really cute book. And then another book that is pretty short is One Week in Paradise by Anise Starr. And this book is only 210 pages. So I wanted to give you guys another short book, but that wasn't quite as short as this one, but still was under that like 300 page mark. And this one I finished really fast. It's about Bailey Clark, who she's an influencer, and something happens that pretty much makes her whole like internet fam turn on her. And so she has kind of went ghost on the internet. She's just like, I can't deal with the hate. I'm gonna go ghost. And while she's doing that, she actually gets invited to Jamaica by this company who she's like, well, I don't know if they saw like the scandal because they're inviting me. And her friend's like, girl, you gotta go. So she's like, you know what, let me go. But then she's like, all right, I'm gonna go. And the people who were like inviting her on the trip, they were like, actually, you need to like go as a couple with someone. And she wasn't in a relationship. So she fake dates with her brother's best friend and takes him. But little does she know, Cash, who's the guy that is her brother's best friend, has had a crush on her for so long. So there's definitely some spice in this one, but nothing too crazy. They go there and it just like, it's so cute. Let's talk about graphic novels. I recently got into graphic novels this year, and I think it's because I don't know, I feel like I used to think there were certain adulty books that I need to stick to because like as an adult you should only read certain things, but that's just not true. Like you can read middle grade books, you can read elementary school books, you can read graphic novels, you can read literally whatever. Reading is reading is reading, and anything that's gonna get you back into reading is gonna be a good thing. So I think graphic novels are very beginner friendly, and I've really integrated them into my reading this year because anytime, again, I feel like I'm gonna get into a little slump where I don't wanna read, I will pick up a graphic novel, or anytime I just am kind of feeling like bored of the book that I'm reading, I'll put that book down. I won't like not finish it, like I'll end up finishing it later, but I will put it down for the moment and pick up another book, which is why, again, I'm always reading like a few books at a time. But the first book I wanna recommend is Wash Day Diaries, and this is by Jamila Rouser and Robin Smith. You get so much in this book. It's about four friends who it's kind of like the focus of the story is the girls like are getting their hair done, but there's so much more than that. It's like starts out as a group chat, And the pictures in the book are incredible. And one thing that I like about graphic novels is these feel like an adult story. Like they go through some hard things. Like one of the friends is really depressed and the other friends are kind of like trying to pull her out of that and get her help. And then another girl's going through like some relationship dilemmas because she's like dating this guy and like something goes wrong, and like you get all of that, and it's all like kind of through the thread of a group chat. These are the pictures on the inside. It's very colorful, and I feel like you just get so much from this. So really like this. This was one of my favorite graphic novel reads of the year. And then I also read Heartstopper, which Heartstopper actually was turned into a show. And this is also just such a great story. I not only want to share diverse reads with different cultures, but I also want to share diverse reads in relationships, and this is a queer read and I really enjoyed this. The newest book in the series, which is book 5, just came out this year, and I bought it like on pre-order because I love it that much. And this is about Nick and Charlie, and both of them are kind of in different friend groups. Nick's like a little quieter, he's kind of like nerdy, and Charlie's like more popular, and they both kind of start to like have a friendship, but Nick starts to have feelings for Charlie, and Charlie, he's just like, I don't really know like how I feel about like who I want to be with and that kind of thing. And so you get to see them kind of figure out their feelings as they struggle through that. And such a good book. Again, it was turned into a Netflix show or like a TV show. The inside of this one looks a little bit different than the other one. It has more of like a less color and more of like the typical graphic novel feel. And then the last book that I want to share is If You'll Have Me by Uni, and this came out this year. This actually looks different on the inside than the other two completely. And this on the back says, love is at the door if they're brave enough to let it in. And it's about PG and Momo, and Momo is like quiet. She doesn't really have any confidence, and you really see her confidence grow as this book progresses. But PG is kind of looked at as like a cool like person who like everyone wants to be with, and they are just like, I don't know, seen as someone who kind of like gets around, but like that's not, I don't know, there's more to me, there's more to PG that meets the eye. And Momo, she starts to have feelings for PG and is like, I don't think that they could ever like me because I am like so quiet and like, I don't know, just unlovable. And so you see her start to get confidence throughout the book. And this is the inside of this one. It's really cute. I finished this one really fast as well. And I just think that all of the insides of these are really good. So read a graphic novel if you are feeling like you just like aren't interested in reading, because these will spark your love for reading. Now we're gonna get into the romance, and these are popular romances that people talk about so much, and I think it's important to read popular romances because the book community makes you want to read more. Like if you read books that you can talk about with other people, it gets you excited for reading, and I think that reading books that people don't talk about is also fun too. But I feel like when I first started getting back into reading in like 2020, I was just so blown away by how much you can be connected to people by books. And so I started reading a lot of the popular books, and so I'm gonna recommend some of those to you, and all of these are pretty easy reads. Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter gives like happy, fluffy vibes, and I'm gonna share like the vibes of the book because I know that everyone wants a different vibe for their book. So if you're someone who likes like Hallmark movies, if you like kind of predictable romances, if you like Disney movies, like stuff like that, you'll really love Lynn Painter's writing. This book is really good. It's about Liz, and Liz is quirky. Liz is the typical Disney girl who, like, you know when people talk about on TikTok, girls who got the Disney knees, like where they like dance, they're just like quirky and like, oh, like look at me, I'm a little quirky, you know, like Liz is that girl. She's quirky. And she likes this guy who, I think his name is Michael. She likes Michael, and Michael just like moved back into town. She always kind of had a crush on him, but she like is like, okay, I'm really gonna get him to like me. Now, she's different than Michael because Michael's kind of popular, and so her next door neighbor Wes, who annoys the heck out of her, he was like, you know what, I can help you get Michael to like you, but you need to give me your parking spot, because they always fight over this parking spot like in front of their house because they're neighbors. She's like, sure, whatever, anything that you need to get Michael to like me is like fine, you can have it if like he actually ends up liking me. So Wes ends up helping her like change who she is, but it's not really like his decision. He's pretty much like, here are the places to go to meet up with Michael. And in that like invitation to go to those places, she's like, well, I should change my clothes. I should like wear different makeup. Like, so she tries to kind of be someone that she's not. Literally is giving typical Disney trope, but I freaking ate it up. I loved it so much. It was very cute. And so many people have also loved and like rated this book very highly. I think I rated this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. Very, very cute and fluffy and fun. And then the Do-Over by the same author, I rated 4 out of 5 stars. So Lynn Painter's books are fun if you're looking for that Hallmark vibe. Then of course there's an ending where she is kind of like, do I want to change who I am for this person? Do I have feelings for someone else? Is Michael the person for me? It is just very cute, and it also has threads of movie like quotes in it, like from When Harry Met Sally and like all of those classic movies. So it's called Better Than Movies for that reason. Another book that I always recommend to people is Love in Other Words, and you guys know I have talked about this book again and again. I literally reread this book. It was my last vlog that just went up, and I read this in less than 24 hours. I think I finished it in like 8 hours or something. Like, this book is so freaking easy to read. The words are really spread apart, but also it is just so like, it'll take you back to when you fell in love for the first time and when you started like exploring your body and you started like having feelings, like your first crush, your first boyfriend, like that kind of thing. It takes you back to that. So this is about Elliot and Macy, and Macy and Elliot have like an undeniable like soulmate connection. They always have. They started liking each other and like being friends. Started being friends at 13, 14, and they started liking each other in like their late teens. And then something tears them apart. And you don't know what it is through most of the book because it goes back and forth in the timeline from like past and present. And in the future, Elliot actually bumps into Macy in a coffee shop after 11 years. He hadn't spoken to her. And so you kind of like the whole time are trying to figure out like what tore them apart. They're so perfect together. And Macy and Elliot are both pretty tight-lipped. Like, they don't really want to talk about what tore them apart, but they want to rekindle like their feelings for each other. So there's this like push and pull of like, we kind of like maybe want something, but maybe we don't because that's scary. And then Macy, you also find out that she is engaged. So it's just a whole like, the whole book is just so good. And again, all this you can read on the back, so there's no spoilers in this video. And then Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover's book that I also recommend. I think that Colleen Hoover is one of the easiest authors to read, like very easy. So I usually recommend Colleen Hoover's books to new readers because you can usually finish them in like 24 hours. This is really good. This is about Kenna, and it's so hard to even explain, but she's trying to reunite with her 4-year-old daughter, but something took her away from being in that parental role. And you also see like a romance entwined into this story. This is a very emotional story. This is as well, I don't think Better Than the Movies really is. I think it's more like fluffy than like heavy, but I do remember like crying from both of these. So yeah, really great romances, and these are all super popular, so you'll definitely have some to talk about with these romances. Another romance that a lot of people talk about is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. That one, I didn't really like that one, and I read it, but I think that this is the one I normally recommend more just because I think it's a little bit, I don't know, I just like it better. This is also her newest read, so that's also why I recommend it. And then Hopeless is another one by Colleen Hoover that I recommend, but not as many people have read that one. So again, just for the whole trend of sharing books that are like pretty popular, I think these are a good romance pick. Now we're gonna get into some diverse romances, and these are diverse romances that are good for beginners. And I say that because a lot of people, I feel like when I started getting into diverse reads, I would get a lot of recommendations from people of books that were good, but they weren't really great for beginners. Like 7 Days in June, incredible book by Tia Williams. Will I recommend that to a new reader? No, I definitely will not. Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan, a great book. Will I recommend that to a new reader? No, and mostly it's just because Long Shot is a very thick book, and then 7 Days in June has a lot of like deeper themes that I think can sometimes just be like really wordy for new readers. So all of these books I think are really quick and fast and easy to read. The first book I want to share, a fluffy, easy romance, because I shared that in the other like popular picks that I had. So this one's called Excuse Me Why I Ugly Cry by Joy Goffney. This one is really nice. It's just fluffy, it's fun. It's about Quinn, and she actually loses her journal, and in her journal she writes like who she wants to kiss and like all these things she wants to do before she like graduates and before she dies, and all these things are like big things she does not want people to know. She loses her journal at school, and so there is someone who is like blackmailing her, pretty much being like, you need to do these things and like check them off your bucket on your bucket list, or I'm going to like out you to the school. So she goes to this guy, his name is Carter, and she's like, hey Carter, you were the last person who like saw my journal, you need to help me find it. And he's like, I don't know where your freaking journal is, like I'm not even friends with you. So they kind of band together to look for this journal, and you find out a lot throughout this book. And I think any book that is a romance that has a subplot of something else that's kind of intertwined, like her finding this journal, is really fun to read. And then another book that I recommend, and these two books are more like heavier, not as like fluffy as Excuse Me Why I Ugly Cry. This one, Fast by Millie Balazar, was a 4.5 out of 5-star read for me. It only has like 1,500 reviews on Goodreads, but I swear it's so underrated. This is about Capri, and you get to hear her story from age 8 all the way up into adulthood. And she goes through so much, and she has so much like, she has to like overcome so much. And again, check the trigger warnings on this one, because there are a lot of triggering things, but I really check the trigger warnings for everything that I'm sharing, other than like the fluffy reads, because like those don't really have like, I don't think anything that would be too triggering. But this book in particular, definitely check, because there's a lot of trauma. But what I really like about this book is how she goes through a lot of hardships, but her next door neighbor is kind of there with her throughout those hardships, because he knows her from the age of 8, and they start building like a friends to lovers, just undeniable bond, and they like connect with each other, but then something pulls them apart. So then you see them like reconnect in adulthood, and they have like a lot of hurt that they're harboring because of what tore them apart. Every time I think about this book, I just like, I give a deep sigh, because it is so hard to read, but it was such a good book. And then Only for the Weak by Natasha Bishop is another book that I love so much. Rome is such a great book boyfriend, and I just love it so much. So this book is about, I think her name is Janelle. Janelle, she is like, she's a people pleaser. She also is like there for everyone else, but not really there for herself, and her family kind of treats her like trash. And you definitely see that throughout the book, and that's like a large theme. But the story surrounds her sister getting married to her ex-boyfriend, and like to Janelle's ex-boyfriend. Now Janelle's like, I'm over it, I'm done with him, like I'm not interested in him. But the sister, like, come on girl, you're marrying your sister's ex-boyfriend? Like, I mean, her whole family's just like literally trash. But she goes to Tulum, and the whole book is surrounding her helping her sister like with the stuff to get ready for this wedding. And while she's doing that, she starts having feelings for this guy named Rome, and Rome is friends with her ex-boyfriend who is marrying her sister. You guys following me? And so she doesn't really want to start anything with Rome, because she's like, well, my sister's gonna think I'm trying to start drama by talking to Rome, but like I'm just like into him. And so you kind of see the push and pull of them being like she's like, I want to have a thing with him, but I don't. I want to take space and relaxation and time for myself on this trip, but I also want to support my sister who is like treating me like dirt. And I think that this is a great book because it's super fast read. It is for the culture. It is written for us. Well, not just for us, but like it's written for us in a way that like the language is so connected, I think, to our culture that you feel very seen in this book. So yeah, those are all of the 3 books that are diverse reads, fluffy 1, and then 2 that are like very heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, will probably make you cry. let's get into the next little genre. Now, you guys know that I'm a big romance girly, but I do love thrillers. Those are my two genres that I pretty much stick to all the time. First thriller I want to recommend is The Housemaid. Now, I'm recommending this one over Never Lie. Well, not over, because I love Never Lie. I've talked about Never Lie by this author, Frida McFadden, so many times, and I actually think that Never Lie is better than The Housemaid. But the reason that I think that The Housemaid is a great read for a beginner is because so many people have read this book, and having people to talk about books with makes the book experience 10 times better. Like, if you read Never Lie, a lot of people haven't read it yet, and so it's like, you get so excited about it, you're like, I want to talk about this crazy ending with someone, and you have no one to talk about it with. So The Housemaid, so many thriller lovers have read this book, and the newest book actually comes out next year. I think it's in May. There's a second book in the series, and a third book comes out next year. So I think this is a great one to read, especially if you want to like maybe read the second one and then pick up the third one when it comes out, so you can like keep up with the hype and like everyone's going to be talking about this. But I really like this book. This is about, what is the girl's name? I literally cannot even think of her name. I have the worst memory, which is like terrible for BookTube, because when I go to talk about books, I'm like, what's their name? Like, what happened? It's about this girl who she doesn't have a ton of prospects. She doesn't have a job. Like, she has been living out of her car. She doesn't have a lot of money. And she's like, I just need to like start to figure out my life. So she sees this, like job posting that's like, we need a nanny in the house, like a maid, not a nanny, we need a maid in the house, and if you come and stay in the house, like, we will pay you well. And I think Nina is the woman who like put up the ad. Yeah, so she goes in the house, starts working there, but she starts to see some weird things. Like, Nina is just like kind of a little kooky, and she's like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if I want to keep working with this lady, because she is weird. Like, she's real weird. And you just start to see like a lot of things that pop up, and you're like, this doesn't feel right. And at one point she's like, should I leave because all this weird stuff is happening, but I literally have nowhere to go because I don't have a job and I'm like living out of my car. So this is just a really good book, but it says on the bottom, I try on one of Nina's pristine white dresses once just to see what it's like, but soon she finds out, and by the time I realize my attic bedroom door only locks from the outside, it's far too late. I mean, that alone, like, your door only locks from the outside and you're living there, like, there's just a lot of secrets in this book, and I feel like this is the one that a lot of people talk about. Another book that a lot of people talk about is A Couple Next Door. I think that, like, I don't know, 500,000 people or something have read this book. It came out in, I think, 2017, and people still talk about this to this day. This book does not have as many like twists and turns as like Frida McFadden's books do. Like, she has a lot of plot twists, and when you get into thrillers, you get into romance, you kind of figure out like how all the books are different. Like, I was sharing, you know, romances that are more like heartfelt and deep, and then other romances that are more like fluffy and fun. Thrillers are the same way. So you'll get some that have like crazy plot twists like this one, or not even this one, but like Frida McFadden's books in general, and then you'll get some that are just really fast paced. This one doesn't have a crazy plot twist, but it's so fast that you will pick it up and finish it same day. And I think that that's great for beginner readers or people who want to get into reading. This is about Anne and Marco, and I read this literally like 3 or 4 years ago, so it's like hard to even remember what it's about, but I recommend it a lot because I've read 4 of her books since then, and I recently read Everybody's Lying, or Everyone's Telling a Lie, or something like that, and it just came out by this author, and that was actually in my top reads of the year, but I'm not recommending that one because it's new. And again, I think that having like conversation behind a book makes the book even more fun. So this is about Anne and Marco, and they have, or seemingly have, everything. They have a beautiful baby Cora, but then one night they're at a dinner party next door, and crime's committed, and suspicion is falling onto the parents. Now, the parents, I mean, throughout this book, it's like there's no way that they're the culprit, you know? And I think as this book goes on, like, you just see like so many different things, and the truth is a lot more complicated than you would think that it is. So Shri Lapina is one of those thriller authors that has very fast-paced thrillers, and those are the type of thrillers that I like to read. And then another author that I've actually recently gotten into that writes thrillers is Lucinda Berry. She wrote Appetite for Innocence, and this book, This is a type of thriller, if you want to read a thriller, it's going to make your stomach flip. Like, you're just going to be like, oh my God, that's like sick. Like, if you maybe watch true crime, or if you can like stomach things that are like a little wild, I think that Lucinda Berry is a great author for that. The writing's also super easy to read. The chapters, some of them are literally like 2 pages. Like, this is a chapter. I don't know if you guys can even see that. So that's one part of the chapter. And that's it. That's literally the chapter. So some chapters are so short and you'll just like fly through this book. This is about a, I don't want to say any words that could be like triggering to anyone, but pretty much the synopsis of this says, be careful what you post online. Your next check-in might lead him right to you. And this guy, he kidnaps teenage girls and he wants to take girls who've never been with anyone, and I'm trying to like use the right verbiage because I don't want to, 1, trigger anyone, but 2, I don't want to like flag anything on the internet. And he's not interested in just teenage girls. He wants girls who've literally like never been with anyone, like very innocent, as you can see, Appetite for Innocence. So I read this book so fast, ate it up, and the kidnapper always takes these girls and no one ever gets out alive until Ella. And it says Ella risks it all to escape. I'm literally reading the back because I like don't want to spoil anything. It says Ella risks it all to escape, setting herself and the other girls free, but only Sarah, the girl who's been captive the longest, gets out with her. So you see not only them being captive and them going through this horrific, gruesome thing, but then also them getting out. And y'all, I have no words. No words. So these are all 3 different thrillers that I definitely think are good, and all the authors are really easy to read. You'll finish these like really fast too. We're really losing the light. I hope it doesn't get too dark for you guys, but the next books I want to share are really easy reads. Now, I've already shared a lot of easy reads, but I just kind of wanted another category that just like encompasses just like those quick reads you'll read within 24 hours. And I'm pretty sure that all these books I read super fast in like 24 hours, and they're all romances. The first book is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Ate it up, read it in less than 24 hours, I'm pretty sure, and then immediately bought the second book and also read that in less than 24 hours. I rated this 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now looking back, I think that a large part of why I rated this so high is because the writing is so easy, but also there is another subplot outside of the romance, which I love, and I feel like you don't find that as often in romance, like adult romance. I think you find it a lot in young adult romance where there's like another plot going on, kind of like an Excuse Me Why I Ugly Cry, like when she loses her journal, but you don't see that as much in adult romance. So this one is really good. It is about Alexis Montgomery and I think her car breaks down in this small town, and this carpenter, Daniel, he ends up like saving the day. They have undeniable chemistry, but they come from 2 different worlds. Alexis is like rich, has very rich parents, she's a doctor. Daniel is just like very humble, small town guy. So they both start to have feelings for each other, but they're just like, how can we choose between these separate worlds, and like we're not meant to be, but we like want to be together. And again, there is this like other subplot in this book because her parents, Alexis's parents, are terrible. They want her to like take over their like medical empire. And they also are so like not supportive of her doing anything that she actually wants. And so you see her learn to get confidence in herself and like stand up for herself. So I will link all these books below so you guys can like pick them up, and I'll link them by category so it'll be easy to find them. Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young is another book, which I'm finding all these books have like another subplot outside of the romance. The romance is heavy, like heavy. These are all romanced. These are all categorized as a romance, but they do have like a heavy subplot of something else, which I think really carries the story. And this is about Chloe and Warren, and Chloe's mom was like always into drugs, and she's like, dang, like, let me live. Like, I need to like, I don't know, have a better grasp on my life than my mom, because her mom just like didn't really take care of her. And then she finally gets her life somewhat together, like outside of living with her mom, like she's living on her own. And then her mom calls her and is like, hey, I need you to take care of this baby. And she's like, huh? And she's like, yeah, you got a sister, you got to take care of this baby. So she isn't sure if she wants to do that or not, but she finds out that to do that, to take care of this baby, she has to join this program that's called, I think it's called Next Up or Set Up or something like that, because she does not have enough money or income to like take care of the baby alone. And so this program, they connect you with someone else who's like wanting to take care of a next of kin. And Warren, he takes care of his younger brother, but he needs to have a room, or he needs to have an apartment that is near where his brother goes to school, because his brother is deaf and needs to go to a school for the deaf. So they kind of like team up together and they decide to move in together because they both like need something from each other. And they're like, you know what? You're a little interesting. Like, I kind of like you, but I'm not gonna like be into you because I need to like just be a parent. But as you guys know in romances, something draws them together and it's just really good. Very fast paced. Another book that I really like is Everything Everything by Nicole Yoon. This book is really good. It's about this girl who has a very rare disease where she can't leave the house. And this was actually turned into a movie, but don't watch the movie if you have or want to read the book. Read the book first. It's very, very, very fast paced. And she stays home all the time, but then she sees her next door neighbor, and he's just like, hey, I'm like kind of want to be friends with you. And they start like sending notes back and forth to each other. Now the reason she can't leave her house is because of this rare disease. Like, she will get like so sick if she like leaves her house. So she lives life in a bubble, but then she like meets this person who kind of makes her want to risk everything for love, to like be with them, be near them. So it is such a good book. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. And the last book in this little category is To Sir with Love by Lauren Lane. This is a romantic comedy. It'll make you laugh. It's very cute, very Hallmark. It follows two people who are, well, I'm just gonna like read this back. It says, this laugh out loud romantic comedy follows two 30-somethings who meet on a blind dating app only to realize that their online chemistry is nothing compared to their offline rivalry. So I think that that's like a good synopsis. I read this like 3 years ago, so it's kind of hard again to remember, but I just remember loving this one so much. And I think that the writing of this is so easy. Very similar to like Colleen Hoover, not similar in the way that they write, but similar in like how fast you'll gobble it up. So I always add this in to my recs, because I feel like this is a kind of underrated book. And the last two books that I really, really, really am loving, or did love, that I think you'll also love if you're wanting to like jump back into reading, are in the fantasy category. You guys know I've only read a couple fantasies. I've literally read these two and Twilight, and these two I think are great for new beginners into fantasy. First one is Shatter Me. This one is so fast paced. I have found that YA books just have, young adult books, have just a pacing to them that is very easy to read. Also the series is very long, so if you like it, you can definitely get into it even more. But it's about a girl who, she has a fatal touch, so anyone that she touches, they literally die. And it kind of gives me like X-Men vibes. So she like has to pretty much like stay away from people, can't hug people, can't touch people or anything. But then they're like government, they figure this out, and so they decide to take her captive and try to like figure out how they can use her to their own will. And she is just like really struggling through having to deal with the government and like taking over her life, and then she like tries to get away. It is very, very good, very like dystopian-esque. I think that that's the verbiage. Don't quote me on it because you guys know I'm very new to fantasy, but this one is really good. And again, it goes into a series, and I immediately bought the second book in the series after reading this one. Another book that I think is great for new readers, or just readers who are wanting to get into fantasy. Maybe this isn't like the best book to read for a new reader. I definitely think Shatter Me is for sure, like 110%. But Fourth Wing has so much dialogue in it. I actually finished this in 24 hours. And believe it or not, like, I'm not a fantasy girl. I've literally read, this was my like very first fantasy other than Twilight, and it has 498 pages. Finished it in a day. Literally finished it in a day. And it's about a girl who she all her life she trains to be like a scribe, and a scribe is someone that doesn't really have a job where you could like die. And then her mom, who is like over their government, is like, hey, you know what? you're actually gonna go into a different line of work and you're going to be a dragon rider where you could potentially die. And so her whole life she's been training to be like someone who's writing and like reading books and like, you know, staying inside, and then now she has to like fight people. So the whole time you're seeing her building up her confidence in herself. You're also seeing her just like get better at like these different challenges. You see her try to match with a dragon because they have to like pick you, and they only pick the ones who are like the strongest people because like there's just so many options. And I just really enjoyed it. I finished it very fast. I immediately bought the second one that came out. So I think that these are great fantasies. I think this one is probably the best for like a beginner reader, but I think that this one is great for someone who is new to the fantasy genre. That is all 20 books that I have for you guys because I literally can't hold any more in my hand. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope if you're wanting to get into reading in the new year that this really encourages you. There's something out there for you, I promise. You just haven't found the right book yet. And if you're thinking that you're not into reading, I promise there's something out there. You just have to dig deeper. I will encourage you to read at least 100 pages of a book before you like put it down, because I think that sometimes it takes 100, maybe 50 pages to really know if you really like something, because like it really gets you into the story. I'd also encourage you, if you, like one of you guys actually messaged me on Instagram and you said that you have a hard time like not scrolling on your phone when you're reading, and I think the biggest thing for me that helps with staying off my phone is to, one, I wake up in the morning to read, because like the world is quiet. Like no one's really posting anything. Like the world is very quiet. So it feels very easy to read over be like on my phone. You're not getting a ton of text. You're not getting a ton of emails. And it's just like really relaxing. And another thing that helps is set a timer. Set a 20-minute timer. 20-minute timer to read, and then take a break and like scroll on your phone for a bit. I think that that helps to build the habit, because you don't really have the habit of reading yet. And to get that habit, you kind of have to like work that muscle. So maybe set a short timer for like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you think you can feasibly do, and set that timer. And then after you're finished, like scroll on your phone and then set another timer again. I think that that really helps. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the last video of Bookmas. Bye guys.